Imagine a hunger so deep it has no bottom. A hunger that is not just a feeling but a force of nature. It is a constant gnawing void that cannot be filled. Not with bread, not with meat, not with anything you might call food. This is a hunger that drives a man to eat garbage from the gutter, to swallow stones just to feel something inside his stomach. It is a hunger that transforms a human being into something else entirely. Something feared, something pitied, something that defies all understanding. This is the story of a man who was eaten by his own hunger. The year is 1792, the night is dark, a storm rages over a French military hospital in Strasbourg. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of sickness and fear, but in one corner of this grim building a different kind of horror is unfolding, yet his eyes burn with a terrifying fire, a fire fueled by an appetite that is both a medical marvel and a curse from the deepest pits of hell. His name is Tarrare, and his story will challenge everything you think you know about the human body. This is the story of a man who became a legend, a medical monstrosity. His life was a spectacle of disgust and fascination. He could devour a meal meant for 15 hard-working men and still feel the pangs of starvation. His existence was a constant, desperate search for anything to fill the emptiness inside him, an emptiness that seemed to have no limit. It was a hunger that consumed his life, his dignity, and ultimately his very humanity. Prepare yourself. The story of Tarrare is not for the faint of heart. It is the story of the world's hungriest man. The tale of Tarrare begins not in a hospital or a laboratory, but in the poor rural countryside near Lyon, France. He was born around the year 1772. This was a time of great poverty and struggle for the common people. Food was scarce. Families often went to bed hungry, praying for a better harvest. But for one young boy, this daily struggle was magnified into a living nightmare. From his earliest days, Tarrare was different. He was cursed with an appetite that was simply impossible. It was a hunger that could not be satisfied by his poor family. He would devour it in seconds, then he would beg for more. He would cry from the constant, agonizing pain of an empty stomach. He was a black hole for food, a drain on their meager resources. How could they feed this boy who seemed to have a furnace burning inside him? The family reached a breaking point. When Tarrare was a teenager, they made a decision that must have shattered their hearts. They forced him to leave home. They cast him out into the world, alone and defenseless. His curse, his insatiable hunger, was now his only companion on the cold, lonely roads of France. His life as a social outcast had begun. Now on his own, his hunger drove him to acts of desperation. He became a scavenger. He fought with stray dogs for scraps of rotting food. He learned to eat what others would consider disgusting, inedible filth. This was the brutal reality of his existence. He was on a path that would lead him from the gutter to the stage. He quickly fell in with a traveling band of misfits, a caravan of the desperate, the damned. They saw his strange condition not as a curse, but as an opportunity. He soon joined a traveling charlatan, a quack doctor who peddled fake medicines and miracle cures. Tarrare became the main attraction. The charlatan would introduce him as the man with the stomach of a god. The crowd would gather, their faces a mixture of excitement and disgust. He would swallow a whole basket of apples one by one. He ate corks, he ate stones. The highlight of his performance was the most grotesque part. He would eat live animals. He would catch stray cats and puppies, break their bones with his powerful jaws, and swallow them whole. The crowd would gasp. Some would turn away in revulsion, but they could not look away for long. He was exploiting his own tragic condition simply to survive. The applause of the crowd did not soothe his soul. They only allowed him to endure another day with the gnawing monster that lived inside him. His body was as strange as his appetite. His massive, gaping mouth, his loose, elastic skin that could stretch to cover his distended abdomen like a belt. When his stomach was empty, you could wrap the folds of skin from his abdomen almost completely around his waist. His body also produced a terrible odor. He was said to stink so badly people could not stand within 20 paces. It was a body perfectly, horribly designed for a life of gluttony and despair, a physical cage for the monster of hunger that lived inside him. The narrative shifts to the French Revolution and the subsequent war. Tarrare joins the French army hoping for a steady supply of food. We explain the context of the French military at the time, the scarcity of food and the desperation of the soldiers. He's initially a curiosity, but his hunger becomes a liability. He's given quadruple rations, but it's never enough. He's caught scavenging from dunghills and stealing from other soldiers. His insatiable appetite, once a source of fame, is now a source of ridicule and danger. Introduce Dr. Pierre-François Percy and Dr. Courville, the military surgeons who become fascinated by Tarrare's case. Describe them as men of the Enlightenment, trying to understand the world through science. They see Tarrare not as a freak, but as a scientific enigma. They run a series of bizarre experiments, watching him eat a meal meant for 15 men, and even a live cat, noting his body's reaction. We explain how this was an 18th-century scientific inquiry, far from modern medical ethics. The most incredible part of the story begins. A French general, General de Beauharnais, proposes using Tarrare's unique ability for espionage. The test: Tarrare must swallow a wooden box containing a document, pass it, and then the document must be recovered, unscathed. Detail the success of the test. He is sent on a mission to deliver a message to a captured French colonel. The thrilling climax of the espionage plot. Tarrare, disguised as a peasant, crosses into Prussian territory. We detail his capture not because of a search, but because of his inability to speak German. He is tortured for a full day before he confesses to being a spy. He is tortured for a full day before he confesses to being a spy. They recover the box from his waist, only to find the message is a fake. The Prussians, furious and disgusted, stage a mock execution before releasing him. This segment highlights the horror and humiliation he faced. Tarrare, broken by his experience, returns to the hospital, begging Dr. Percy to find a cure. He agrees to any treatment. We describe the futile attempts to cure his condition, attempts with laudanum, wine, and vinegar, none of which work. His condition worsens, the foul odor he constantly emits intensifies, and his habits become even more desperate and repulsive. This section delves into the most disturbing, unproven aspects of his story. We recount the rumors of him drinking blood from patients and eating corpses from the morgue. This builds the suspense and revulsion, culminating in the terrible rumor that a missing 14-month-old child was the victim of his hunger. Though there is no evidence, the suspicion is enough. He is chased from the hospital. After 4 years of disappearance, a dying Tarrare reappears at a hospital, a shadow of his former self. He is suffering from a grotesque wasting disease, likely tuberculosis, which is a known fact. Dr. Percy is called to his bedside. Tarrare dies a month later. Detail the gruesome autopsy that was performed by surgeons, the sheer horror of the autopsy, which had to be abandoned due to the stench, including the findings: an abnormally wide gullet, a massive liver, and a pus-filled, ulcerated stomach, is a fitting end to his physical life. Image of the human digestive system. The final minutes serve as a powerful reflection. The question is asked: was Tarrare a monster, a freak of nature, or simply a medical tragedy? We explore the modern medical theories that attempt to explain his condition, such as polyphagia or hyperthyroidism, emphasizing that we will never truly know. We return to the central theme: a hunger so profound it consumes your very humanity. Was Tarrare a monster, a freak of nature, or simply a medical tragedy? His story forces us to confront the terrifying reality of a body at war with itself, and the lonely, desperate journey of a man who was, in the truest sense, eaten alive by his own curse.